Looks like some folks are running a little late.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi, Stella.
Stella, are you still in Italy?
yes, it looks like they will lift the travel ban in November. So hopefully I can come back in November. But for now, I'm still here.
This is going to be a late night for you, isn't it?
Yeah, but tomorrow I can sleep if I mean, I don't have anything in the morning, so.
Good.
Stella, are you teaching or no?
I am teaching, but right now online. So my class starts at when here it's 6 p.m. So it's okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, hang in there until you can rejoin us.
Yes, hopefully soon. I have an appointment on October, but I don't know. I have to realize yet if they can process visas even before the travel ban is lifted or not. I mean, I don't know. We have to wait some details.
Yeah. Maybe you can get some special, yours can be expedited since you are you still officially a graduate student?
No, I am a
Oh.
teacher.
That's why.
But
Okay.
no, I already tried and they said, no, apparently it's not considered urgent. So.
So Damon, do we have a quorum tonight?
I believe so. I'm just looking at our roster, and Nana is not here. But I think, let me come back now. Michael, oh no, there's Michael. So I think Nana is the only person who isn't here, so that's pretty good. I think that's a quorum.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess we can go ahead and get started in our marathon of meeting at this most unusual retreat. I'm not sure how this was done in the past when it was in person. I guess they were still announced to the public and the public came. But anyway, I think where our agenda has us opening up with just, kind of, I know we all kind of pretty much know each other. I was very excited to meet Amanda in person a few weeks ago. That was most surprising and enjoyable. It was a pleasure to meet you, Amanda. I was selling popcorn and nuts with my boys on the downtown mall for Scouts, and also saw Dave there doing the same thing. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, why don't we go ahead and we can each share something briefly about ourselves that's unique, a little interesting. Elizabeth, you're on my screen to the left of me. Would you like to start out with something fun?
Okay, I'm terrible at this particular kind of ice-breaking activity, so I'm just giving you advance warning. I thought the thing I might like to share is just really quickly the experience of traveling to our French sister city, which was in September. It was I was there this week, 3 years ago. And I went with a delegation that was organized by the Sister Cities Commission. And I went as an interested community member, knowing nothing about Besançon. Afternoon, the center of town up to the fortress that's on the top. So Besançon is, there's a river that runs through the city and there are hills around it. That's one of the things
Elizabeth, it seems like your audio and video might be out of whack. We
Yes,
can't
we-
hear you any longer, is that right?
If you hear us, you are frozen. Adrienne, why don't you go while Elizabeth will hopefully get back to us. Do you have something that you would like to share?
Yes, mine involves travel to our, well, not to our sister city, but to Italy in general. And this was way back when, but I had a rare chance to get into the Sistine Chapel all by myself. It was before those became kind of tour prizes dangled in front of tourists, but I had rushed to meet a class that was going to have a lecture there, and I was late. But little did I know that I ran past the class in one of the rooms on that 5-mile long journey to the Sistine Chapel, and I got in there all by myself, and I had it for 10 minutes on a summer morning, and it was really miraculous, really magical. So that's my experience that one of many that made me fall in love with Italy.
Nice. Wow, that is special. Probably not too many people have that room to themselves.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Elizabeth, would you like to finish up? We just heard about Adrienne's story. She had the opportunity to visit the Sistine Chapel unexpectedly by herself. That was really special. Would you like to finish your story, Elizabeth, if your internet's going okay?
He appears to be frozen again.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, would you like to share something?
I mean,
And-
what's that?
It doesn't have to be country or sister city related. It can be anything, although
I've had the great pleasure of visiting Winneba 11 times now, and so it's hard for me to pick out any one experience from all those wonderful trips. But I think one that stands out really it has little to do with actually has little to do with Winneba, but we took a group of about 27 people on for January of 2020 and from Charlottesville to Winneba, and on Winneba has a big annual festival on New Year's Day. It's called the Fancy Dress Festival. It's Africa's largest masquerade festival. And the night before New Year's Eve, over the course of the evening, by the end of the night, 26 of the 27 of us were out in the courtyard of the little hotel, the guest house we were staying, all celebrating New Year's Eve. In Ghana, they don't really celebrate New Year's Eve. Everybody goes to church on New Year's Eve. So we had our own impromptu New Year's Eve celebration. It was just so delightful and such a great bonding experience for all of us on that trip and then of course we had the countdown at the strike of midnight, and everybody cheered, and it was just a wonderful group experience. And then a bunch of us went down to the ocean and jumped in the ocean, so it was fun.
Nice. It's cool that you can be in a place that has warm water in January.
That's right.
That is a good thing. Cool, thanks. Stella, would you like to share something?
Yes, I am going to share something that is not related to sister cities or traveling, okay? I just thought about this because I read that today was his birthday, and I remember like a few years ago, I finally met my favorite singer after I stalked him because he came to Italy and we followed him. I mean, basically what happened was, well, he's Liam Gallagher from Oasis. I don't know if you ever heard about them. I mean, now they split up, but okay. Anyway, he came to Milan to do some kind of promotion in a radio. and there were a lot of people, but one of my friends had a motorcycle. So we followed him, and he was incredibly nice. That's what I remember, because, you know, the kind of rock stars with alcohol, cocaine, always being going in a fight, this kind of things. So you're like, oh, what if in person, I mean, you know, you finally met them and they are completely different from what you imagine. And he was incredibly nice. He's talked to us, he spent some time with us, and then he apologized when he had to leave. I don't know. This is the kind of things that even after years, I'm always like follow him just because of that. So I don't know. I thought it was fun to share.
Who is that? Who was it again?
Liam Gallagher.
Liam Gallagher. Okay, cool. That's a really cool story. It's fun when you meet famous people that you think are going to be a certain way, and then, you know, they're not what you expect. Nice. Well, hey, Elizabeth.
Hey, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I guess I'm the only one whose connection got dropped, but I'm back.
So good to see you. Want to finish it?
Sure. So I was starting to tell folks about this, one of my favorite experiences from my visit to our French sister city in September 2018. It was a free afternoon, and I walked all the way from the center of the city up to the fortress that had been built overlooking the city. It was built by a famous French architect. And it had seen as you can imagine, a long and storied history. But inside the fortress was a very unusual museum, and it was called the Museum of the Resistance. It turns out that Besançon was an important city for resistance, French resistance, even though it was in Nazi-occupied France. So I spent several hours walking through this museum, looking at an enormous collection of memorabilia from that had been used.
Poor Elizabeth.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
was
you're
there.
freezing again. Maybe turn off your camera, because you're going in and out a little. As much as we love seeing you, maybe.
Okay, is that better?
Right now it is.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm also gonna, anyway, it was a very memorable afternoon that I spent at this museum, learning about the important role that our French sister city played in World War II in terms of French resistance to Nazi occupation. So.
Well, that's fascinating. And yes, we hear you clear as a bell.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing that. Amanda, would you like to share something interesting about you or interesting experience?
Sure. Well, Damon, first I wanted to say it was really a pleasure to meet you in person as well on the downtown mall, unexpectedly. And I was initially, I took notice of your boys' Nats baseball caps because we're big Washington Nationals fans. I'm surrounded by baseball lovers in my home. That wasn't what I was really planning to share, but I wanted to just make a connection also. And I see Nana's joined us as well, but I wanted to share that my favorite region of the world outside my home country of the US is West Africa. And I spent 2 years living in Burkina Faso to the north of Ghana as a Peace Corps volunteer in the late 90s. And so had my first opportunity to visit Ghana during those years, but I work in global public health and have been to Ghana several times, have never made it to Winneba, although almost got to go one time. And one of my very favorite Ghana stories is crossing the border between Burkina and Ghana in a canoe. And it wasn't an actual border crossing. and entered Ghana through Wa in northern Ghana and came down all the way to the coast, and was rewarded after that long voyage with the most amazing lobster, the best I've ever had in my life, freshly caught from the Atlantic Ocean on the coast of Ghana. So it was a real travel adventure, and loved the experience I had there. Wonderful, and hope to get to Winneba one day.
Oh, you are cordially
That's
invited.
delicious.
Thank you.
Hey, since we were just on the topic of Ghana, Nana, why don't you go ahead? We're just telling each other about something interesting about us or an interesting experience that we'd like to share.
Oh, my as usual, Ghana is a exciting place to be. I just came back a couple of weeks. No, last Sunday. I've been back since last Sunday. But as usual, Ghana is an exciting place to be. Free movement, no problems. We will just nice food. And nice food, nice people, everybody is smiling. The coronavirus is being hooted out, though the vaccine has not caught up with almost half of the people. Still, almost about 3/4 of the people have not been vaccinated. But our infection rate is very low. Our death rate is very low. And what else, Damon?
So we're just telling interesting things about us, interesting experiences, or an interesting talent, or we're just kind of in an opening, icebreaker time. So if you have a unique talent that no one knows about here, or something like that, feel free to share it. And pardon me for turning my screen off.
Okay, I love to cook. I love to cook a lot. Unfortunately, most of you have not tasted my my food. Hey, Damon, did I cook for you when we were doing my? Yeah.
Yes, you did. It's been a few years.
Yes, and Dave can attest to the cooking. Anyway, and when I get too upset, I cook. So my kids always want to get me upset so that I can cook.
Nice. Well, that's good. Well, so if you're doing a lot of cooking, we should not necessarily drop in.
The sad thing is that you are all invited. I wish you could have come here to do the retreat. You could have come to my house to do the retreat, but you opted to do it at Zoom. But then another time will come. We
would love that. Unfortunately, we had to do it in Zoom. We didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your skill of cooking.
Thank you.
Michael, would you like to share an interesting
Sure.
talent or something?
Yeah, talent, I don't know. I mean, I guess something to know about me is I like to do sort of everything. So it's partly an ADD trait and just partly interests. So I cook, I garden, I do home repair, all sorts of stuff. But in the spirit of the sister cities, got a chance to go to northern Italy on a study abroad when I was in college. And during our spring break, I was able to take a couple extra days and travel by myself and went to Verona and then Cinque Terre and walked the Cinque Terre path between, I think it was 3 of the cities by myself, which was a lot of fun. It's a gorgeous, very mountainous, hilly terrain right there on the Mediterranean.
Nice. Oh, hey, it's fun to travel by yourself. You're on your own schedule and you can see whatever you want to see and the amount of time you want to give. That's cool.
Hey, Damon, I actually forgot. Ghana has the best chocolate and the best beer.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right. Sounds good. Chocolate beer?
No, chocolate and beer.
No, I got you.
Yes, not chocolate beer, but then best chocolate and best beer.
Nice. Well, yet another reason to visit.
Exactly.
Well, I guess that leaves me. And I think a while back, Kate mentioned my unusual talent, but I am a pretty good etch-a-sketcher. And I don't remember if I've shared that here. Have I ever showed y'all? Okay. Well, let me share my screen. Let's see here. Hold on one second. So I have a little blog. It's not much, but you can see, I don't know if you can see my Etch-a-Sketch page. So there's one that I did. And I'll just
Wow.
go through a few. There's one I did on after a trip to Cuba.
Oh, that's cool.
This one, someone actually, this is the only one I was actually paid to do. The other, I don't like doing them for money because then you have to stress about it. But that's a house out in Orange County. This is Pavilion 4. What makes it a little unique is I did it sideways. So, you know, anyway. So
But
I won't
Damon,
go through all of that.
if you could draw like that, why are you still in the employ of Larry Sabato?
I don't know. Yeah, you know, some people have talents that make them lots of money, and I've got Etch-a-Sketch. So, you know, everyone's got something, I guess. Anyway, I guess that's my hidden talent. I'm a pretty good Etch-a-Sketcher.
It's impressive.
They take a lot of time. I actually don't do them that much anymore, but occasionally I'll pick it up when I have some spare time. Well, all right then. Well, that was fun. Thanks for everyone sharing your cool experiences and unique talents. Guess we'll go ahead and get back and look at our agenda for the day. I think probably everyone has a copy of agenda, I suspect, on their desktop. I don't know if we need to share that screen all the time. But I guess
Damon,
next.
can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
It wasn't on the agenda, but could I just ask that there be a moment to approve the minutes from last month's meeting? Otherwise,
Yeah,
that will have to
Yeah.
be put off.
good point. How about you want to go ahead and do that now before we forget?
Probably good idea.
Okay, great. Did anyone have any, did everyone have the opportunity to read over the minutes? I can put it on the screen just one moment. Or if everyone has already looked at it, I won't bother. Does anyone need to take a quick glance at the minutes who was at last month's meeting?
The minutes that I'm taking are fairly detailed, so it's not easy to take a quick glance at them.
Right.
And
So
that's
hopefully you looked
why-
at them.
That's why I've asked everybody to make time to read over them before the meeting. Just to make sure that you catch any corrections or any omissions or and need to bring anything to, even misspellings, bring to my attention.
Okay, did anybody have anything that jumped out at them, or I did not see anything myself. All right, well, all in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, please say aye. Or aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Aye. I think that was everybody. Any opposed or abstentions? All right,
Okay.
the minutes are adopted. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks so much for all your efforts on those. Okey doke. So our next item on our agenda is review the bylaws and strategic plan. Okay, so Did everyone have a chance to glance over the bylaws? That's something I can
Yes.
post on. Unless, yeah. Would you all like me to share it with everybody to look through, or thumbs up for if you want me to share it, or nothing if you're good? Share it? Okay, share. Okay, let me see if I can find it here. I have a lot of different things opened up. Oh, here we go. Okay, here are our bylaws. And one thing, I mean, I personally didn't find a lot to alter myself. One thing that jumped out at me, however, was D here, which one of our powers is to raise and receive monies and accept any gifts or donations to the Sister Cities Commission. This isn't necessarily something that I think we should change, but it jumped out to me as something that, at least since I've been here, and granted, that is not really very long. It's not something we've ever done because we fortunately had public funding. But if we don't get public funding next year, it might be something we need to go back to and attempt to raise funds. But anyway, that just jumped out at me, and I just wanted to raise it. I'll skip down a page to see if anyone has anything else they'd like to add.
I have something to note.
Yeah, great.
One thing that I found interesting was under the Article 4 about membership, that if I'm counting correctly, we actually have the capacity at this point to have 13 members. Because when I actually read the bylaws closely again, I was reminded that the commission consists of 10, no more than 10 members, up to 5 at-large members, no more than 10 members, plus 1 member representative for each sister city. And so if I'm reading that correctly, that means we've got plenty of room to grow. Of course, we're having issues with that, but I think a lot of us have been operating under the assumption that 10 was the cap, but in fact, 10 is the cap of commissioners minus the sister city reps. And so in our case, with 4, I guess we still have 4 sister cities and a friendship city. If all of those were active cities, we could have up to 15 members of the commission. And I just thought it was important to point that out, because I know that one of the things we'll be talking about later, Damon, is how to recruit new members for the commission. And we should be operating from the same set of assumptions about how many spaces there actually are that could be filled.
That is a very good point. I mean, Lord knows we could definitely use more members to share the labor, spread things around a little bit.
The other thing that I assumed we might want to discuss at some point is the residence requirement, which actually turns out not to be a requirement. So when we had talked about that at one of our recent meetings, according to our bylaws, it's preferred that commissioners be city residents, but it is not required. And if we are in a position where we want to take that up with city council so that they will consider applicants that might be in the hopper who don't live inside the city, because we think they're viable applicants, even though they don't technically live inside the city, it seems like it's within our bylaws and within our power as a commission to endorse or request or support candidates who live in the surrounding counties.
Yeah, well, if we're having challenges recruiting people within our city, we should definitely, I would hope, be open to Beyond. And, you know, I think it's possible that we did not communicate when we did have those candidates, our desire that the city council hopefully accept them.
Mhm.
I mean, I know that I was not chairman at the time. So I don't know if that request was made. It might have been. Dave might have an idea. But maybe when we do have candidates or in preparation, we do let them know that, you know, our circumstances. I mean, they might not be aware that we have half the number of commission members that we could, and that we're in great need of more.
Mhm. Well, one of the things that has not been so clear to me, I'm certainly interested to hear others' input about this, is the degree to which, as the commission, we get to have a say in who is appointed, or versus the degree to which it's completely out of our hands, meaning city council is the one that does the appointing, but what is that relationship? What is that synergy that historically has existed, or that we want to have existed, because it's not spelled out in our bylaws as they're written. And I think all of us were brand new, so we just didn't know that if we liked one of the candidates' applications that was forwarded to us last winter, we should have spoken up. And I think in the absence of doing that, council made its own decisions for whatever reasons they might have made those decisions, and then communicated that to us through Max. And now that we've had a little experience with this, perhaps, you know, we want to talk as a current commission about what we'd like that relationship to be. Like, are we allowed to recruit members? And if we're allowed to recruit members and encourage them to apply, do we have to make a special effort to say to city council, we recruited this person, we really like this person on the commission, you have to appoint, but basically we're hoping that you will? Or is it really just entirely up to council?
Mhm. That's a good question.
Can I jump in here, Damon?
Please do.
Please,
Yeah,
please,
I
I'll
don't-
stop talking.
No, there is nothing to prohibit us either as a group or individually from recruiting candidates to apply, from encouraging, you know, or recommending that council appoint certain candidates. We have to respect the fact that ultimately it is a council decision. We don't get to choose who they nominate, but yeah, by all means, I think we should be recruiting candidates, and either individually or you know, through Damon as our chair, or we can certainly contact council and let them know, you know, here's some people that we feel would add a lot of value to this commission,
Mhm.
and appreciate your consideration.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Dave. That's helpful to hear.
I would think that the city council would not mind hearing from us if we have candidates that we think would be particularly good, you know, or that have a unique experience that would contribute well to the commission.
I was thinking that this area in particular is missing from the bylaws, and it may or may not belong exactly in bylaws. Maybe it's in, I noticed we had a goal of establishing or writing a member handbook.
Mhm.
So maybe it falls somewhere between bylaws and member handbook, but I had the same questions, how we make recommendations to the city council, how positions are advertised, how commissioners are recruited, and what are the procedures, if there are any specific ones, or, you know, what kinds of things could we codify to future commissioners who know, here's what you do when you don't have someone in the role of X. And in my case, and I mean, I was contacted by Terry a year ago. Stella may have been as well. I hope that it's okay to share that. And she said, would you consider work on the commission? And then we had to make our own applications to city council, but I think it would be very helpful to understand how those procedures work and how those, what are the circuits, what are the directions, so that we can have definitely more voice in saying, here are some good people. They're going to be applying. We recommend them. Or,
Adrian, you make a really good point. We typically go about the process of recruiting, it seems like this past year, with, the city putting out information about the opportunity and it kind of, languishing out there and getting very few responses. I mean, maybe we need to start to be headhunters. And
Max is saying she has information on this.
oh, great. Feel free to share, Max.
I just didn't want to jump in there and interrupt the retreat. So here's how the board and commissions appointment process works. We typically advertise, but we're required to advertise vacancies a minimum 30 days in advance. Okay, but because boards, council makes boards and commission appointments on a quarterly basis, we try to advertise those vacancies at least 90 days in advance. For example, council just made an appointment at their council meeting on Monday. So the beginning of October, I'll post the new list of vacancies, if not sooner. The deadline will be sometime early December, and then the second council meeting in December is when council will actually make appointments. So I keep a running tally of all the boards and commission vacancies. I post those on the city website. I send a list to the local library downtown so that they can, post it for any patrons. And then it's just out there. And when applications are submitted, whether they be online or mailed in or dropped off, our department retrieves those as well. And that's just kind of an ongoing process for that 90-day period. And then when the deadline ends, I compile those. I send them to the liaisons for the boards and commissions. In some cases, that's going to be staff and other regional type boards that may be someone else. In your situation, I would send any applications to Kina, which you'd be aware of, but I'd also send it to the chair. And then the board can review those applications, see whether or not they'd like to make a recommendation to council. They could send that recommendation to me or directly to each council member. And then they'll take it into consideration during the appointment process. So yeah, you're welcome to recruit, any way you see fit. And then, I collect those applications, send them on, council makes their appointment, and then I follow back up with you to let you know who was appointed. So.
When you said chair, was that chair of the committee or chair of the council?
The chair of the committee.
Okay.
Yeah.
The chair of the committee, I
Or
was thinking
commission.
Commission or board.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Okay. Well, maybe we should kind of follow previous practice and think about people who we believe would be particularly good and approach them, especially if they live in Charlottesville. Approach them to apply. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that we recruit them and tell them that they're in. If we want them to be, obviously, they would need to apply like everybody else. But if we know people who we think would be well suited for the commission, we should actively recruit them. I mean, I think we've and I know that we have our standard procedure for putting the news out there, and it's it does well. It gets to a wide variety of areas. but maybe we need to be, you know, more active and intentional in trying to get candidates. We have so many open spaces, you know. If
And-
we
and-
can-
I was
Go
just
ahead.
going to add that we also asked council to make the announcements about the vacancies at least twice during the time period that we're accepting applications. So, and then there's also a news flash that our communications department will send out announcing that we're accepting applications. So that's pretty much to the extent that we advertise and try to get the word out. But the members of boards and commissions are welcome to do that as well, you know, to make efforts to recruit as well.
Sure, yeah, thank you. I
Would
think that's
the-
what we need to do.
Would the members of this commission be open to me drawing these steps up, at least in a document we could keep on Google Drive so that we could, have something to refer back to? And I would
Absolutely.
double check that with you, Max, to make sure I got everything right. But I think it would really be helpful for us to know these steps, exactly how they work, and to know what our options are, and to know some of the timing. For example, you said 90 days before you start to advertise, 90 days in advance of, and I missed what the end date is.
The application deadline.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be
Adrienne, I
willing to
think it
do
would be
that.
great if you were willing to take this on. I think this is the kind of organizational document that we're lacking, or at least if one was ever made, it's certainly not in our current shared drive. It's been lost. And it's the kind of organizational document that I think could guide future commissioners. Since we don't have a handbook, even though that's a project, kind of an
Right.
aspirational project, we
Right.
don't have one, and we don't have anything to give new commissioners other than the bylaws that sort of orient them to how things work. I think it'd be wonderful for you to try your hand, and I'm certainly in support of it if others are. And I'm happy to, provide editorial assistance or whatever might be helpful to you.
Sure. I
What do
actually,
others think?
Absolutely. Yes, please. For sure. Please do.
after looking at the bylaws, such as they are, and then the strategic plan, I had a couple other areas that where I think we could use an organizational document. And one of them, the next topic would be funding procedures. And this was touched on by you, Damon, when you mentioned that we might have to look more intensively at donations, that possibility. But I know that in the year that I've been serving, I'm still a little confused about what the steps are for submitting a budget request, and the timing, and what the traditional funding has been, if there is such a thing. And I'm not volunteering to do all of this, but I'm just pointing out that I think another document that lays out here are the standard steps that the commission generally follows for requesting new funding for our commission budget.
Yeah, it would be helpful. For sure.
Is there another area, Adrienne, that
Okay.
you also feel like needs attention?
I did, my final area is record keeping. And just something that says where, generally we're keeping our stuff on Google Drive, and is that agreeable to all of us as a way of storage and record keeping, both archival stuff and current? But just something, I don't know that that's a bylaw, but I know one of the bylaws did say that we would keep records of our minutes or some such statement. But
Yes.
I think it would help to have that, in writing. What are the traditional moves of this commission as far as keeping track of our work.
Mhm. Well, I thought about the record keeping as well, because as you all know, I took a deep dive into our drive over the last few months to try to determine what's actually there and to get it organized in a more user-friendly format. And what I'm aware of is that there probably are minutes of these meetings that go much further back than what's available to us on the current drive, but I wouldn't know how to get copies of those, or even if we would want to get copies of those. And then they'd have to, if they're not in digital formats, we'd have to take the time to create some kind of file that would travel from chairperson to chairperson or secretary to secretary. So that's one thing that I'm wondering about. But the second thing was recognizing that all of the people, there's community members who I think have helped to make things happen with our sister cities. And I'm not sure that even those of us that are city representatives have documents that would be extraordinarily helpful for us to house on the Sister City Commission's drive. And here's the example that I'll give you, which is last month, I finally made contact with a woman who's been a very key, critical, involved Besançon, Charlottesville supporter over the years. And it turns out she had copies of our formal letters establishing Charlottesville and Besançon as sister cities. So I asked her to please send those to me, which I have now uploaded into the Besançon materials file on our drive. That seems to me to be the kind of thing that we ought to own and have copies of, right? This was the letter. There was the friendship letter, there was the Friendship City letter that was drafted. And then after 2 or 3 years, there was the official documentation. And so the whole issue of record keeping, I agree, Adrienne, is quite, it's important even if it's tedious to people, because without access to documents, I think some of us don't know how to build on what our predecessors have established or done. And there's not any way to appreciate kind of the full trajectory or history of the activity of the commission as a whole. So that's my piece about that. And I don't necessarily have a brilliant suggestion to propose, except it would be great if we could shake the trees from some former commission members and see if we can get our hands on important and relevant commission related documents that we can, combine with what we already have.
So that's a great point, Elizabeth. We also, the city clerk's office also, back in the day at least, used to maintain paper files on each of the sister cities with documents and records and whatnot. I don't know if Max, if that's something you might be able to help put your finger on, but and I assume there are also electronic files somewhere in the city's, database. But I know they used to have paper files because I've seen the one for Winneba. It's been years now, but
Yeah.
do you have any thoughts on that, Max? Or
So we do have some records. I don't have an itemized list in front of me, but it's something that I could put together for you. And
Well,
you
Max,
know.
I was actually gonna, when I was thinking about this, preparing for today, after looking over the bylaws and everything, I was gonna reach out to you, in my role as the Besançon rep anyhow, and say, is there a cache of documents related to the establishment of our sister city relationship with Besançon, and even lists of former volunteers and commission members who had important roles to play, and other kinds of documents that I could, that you could share with me, that I could find a way to upload or copy, if nothing else, so I can create a traveling file that will go from me to the next Besançon rep, but so that we could also upload So I was going to reach out to you about that anyway, and I still will do that on my, I'll do that separately.
Okay.
If that's okay,
Yeah, that's fine.
I know that'll take a little time, and I'm happy to come wherever I need to meet with you or to pick those up or to make copies of them in place, or I don't even know what might be there, but I'd certainly like to do that.
Yeah, and our office maintains the rosters, so we should be able to put our fingers on that pretty easily. Not sure how far back it goes, but that part will be easier. But yeah, that's not a problem. We can connect on that.
Max, when you say rosters, you're referring to the commission members?
Yes.
I did note when I was looking at some of the materials to get ready for today, that in the contacts, which I think contains whatever rosters have been put into Google Drive,
Okay.
one of them at the very end, it kind of proudly stated when each sister city relationship began.
Mhm.
And so Elizabeth and whoever, all of us, that's one spot to find something, some information there. Because I hear that we're kind of wanting to be more conscientious about our history as a sister city commission and the history of these relationships with the individual cities, but also the history of the work of the commission itself, more generally speaking.
I think it would save time if you're a new commissioner stepping on. It certainly would. I mean, if you had documents that you could go to or that you inherited to orient yourself to being a commissioner, or to orient yourself to the officer position or to the specific role that you have, boy, it would sure save some time. I mean, I could have used that. I felt like I lost 3 months, 4 months last year, not knowing anything about how to proceed. So I kind of was making it up. I mean, I wasn't making it up, but I was doing what it's not that I didn't know anything. That's not really true. Of course, I had access to some documents that were left to me by a predecessor, but that's the kind of thing that I think can help a commissioner get up to speed more quickly. And so I'd really love to be part of, a group of us who want to put some time and energy into leaving our documentation better than we found it.
It's a great idea.
While everybody was talking, I was taking notes of some ideas for what could go into a membership guide, and I'll share that to you for inclusion in the minutes, or
That would be so
for
great. Thank you,
starting that
Michael.
effort.
Will you just email that to me directly instead of share it
Sure.
here? Because I might forget to download it since I'm having technical difficulties today.
And I was just thinking, if just in a spirit of brainstorming, that maybe one day we have an event, maybe it's just an evening event or whatever it is, where we celebrate and present, educate whoever's interested about the history of this Sister City Commission, even without going into depth on any one sister city, but we could certainly say that, it's been active for, I know the first one was Italy, I think, and that was 40 plus years ago. So, it could be a kind of a 1 or 2 hour event or retrospective of the highlights of the Sister City Commission. That could be an event in and of itself. In its smallest, most compressed way. It's a virtual presentation where we share some slides and some key people. It would take a little bit of research, but it could be educational to know something about what this group has been trying to do all these years and what we still want to do for the future.
Well, folks, is there anything else that's really pressing on the minutes that have come to mind? I just want to try and keep us as close to our agenda as we can so we don't really run over or run short, as probably the case would be.
So I do want to ask one more small point, and maybe we can just note it and we could take it up at the meeting next month. I did notice that in the bylaws, it's assumed that we're having an annual it's called an annual organizational meeting at which we elect the officers.
I had
Which,
that
of course,
same
That's
question.
kind of boilerplate, right? For how, for how organizations work. I don't know if that used to happen, but it's definitely doesn't seem to be what's happening now. And I wondered if that was something we wanted to draft an amendment to change. I mean, we do have this annual retreat. And I don't know if we want to keep that in the bylaws and just leave it there, even though it's not current practice, because it's good organizational practice. Or I wonder if we want to take a stab at rewriting that portion of the bylaws or amending it so it more accurately reflects how we seem to actually be functioning. And I just want to mention that without having to have a lot of discussion about it, but you had asked us to let you know if we felt like there were areas that needed attention, and that just seems to me to not, that either is obsolete or maybe it's maybe it's no longer serving kind of our needs.
Could you point which section that is and where that is?
Yes,
So I
It's
can-
Article 5, officers and their duties.
yes.
Oh,
Does
in
Da-
section two.
Dave or Michael, did you used to do that back in the day?
Section 2, the chair shall appoint a nominating committee to present candidates for office at the annual organizational meeting, and they shall be elected by ballot. If there is but one nominee for any office, the election may be by acclamation. That somehow or another just doesn't seem like it's how we do things. I don't know, whatever.
So just, yeah, so that's what something we used to do at this annual retreat. This was our annual organization meeting.
Okay,
But in my time, at least on my time on the commission, we've never had a contested election. So it was always done by acclamation.
yeah.
So
So in your opinion, Dave, is it, that's an important, I mean, there does need to be a procedure, obviously,
yeah,
for selecting leadership. In your opinion, is that something that should just stand in the bylaws and we should simply make a note as a commission to try to return to that structure, after the pandemic, or to return to that structure, in 2022? Is it your sense that it's important to keep it as written?
well, I think we all heard from Damon, 1 or 2 meetings ago that he's looking for somebody to step up and help carry the load of this commission as either co-chair or vice chair or what have you.
Mhm.
So I think we should figure out a way to go ahead and do this, whether it's I guess it's a nominating committee. And then it doesn't necessarily, we can just vote on it at our next commission meeting, instead of waiting to our next annual retreat.
Okay.
And we do have the topic on officers in our agenda today.
Okay, so we can defer to that time.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anything else for this portion? Okay.
Just a real quick thought on, as we were discussing knowledge management and kind of organizational housekeeping. I think one other thing is the Gmail account for the commission, as sort of one of our main modes of communication or exchanging with community members. I think we might want to just specify some clear roles and responsibilities too around who kind of manages that inbox going forward, who has access to it and so forth. And I think we've been a little ad hoc, or I've supported some of the grants related communication, but we might need to make sure somebody's checking that regularly and responding to general inquiries and so forth. So maybe something we can, I'm not sure where that falls in roles and responsibilities, but something we can, I don't think needs to be in the charter, but maybe clarified.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I will. Moving on. Thanks, everyone. That was really valuable. Okay, so we reviewed the bylaws and I don't guess we reviewed our strategic plan. We're already 10 minutes, 12 minutes beyond that portion of our agenda. Does anyone have something they would like to add or bring up in regards to our strategic plan? Yes, Adrienne.
I'm trying to pull it up here again for myself, but my general feeling about the strategic plan was that it was rather general, nothing too specific. And that with COVID, it almost seems like many items are just sort of in a state of suspension. But what I did think we could act on, kind of the low-hanging fruit, is one of the items in terms of goals and strategies, and I'm down on page, are they page numbered? No, the heading is called Improved Web Presence. And it just occurred to me that the last two bulleted items, one is highlight success stories, and one is provide regularly updated information on each sister city.
Mhm.
And I just thought that seemed like, especially updated information on each sister city, seemed like the easiest thing we could do.
Mhm.
And we just, I think just need to be more proactive or more focused on getting something out. I always, the channels are Facebook. Instagram is a little more flash, like a flash piece of information, but each sister city, basically it calls on us to be sort of journalists and just put some blurb out somewhere that keeps the sister cities in the public view. So that just seemed like something that was relatively easy to do. It doesn't even revolve around us having specific activities and events. It just revolves around having some interesting information, some visuals, and just to say, hey, here's what's happening in Pojo these days. Here's what's going on in Weiwei. So that's all. Everything else is just sort of on the strategic plan. It's just stuff you would say, of course, these are all the kinds of things we'd like to be doing. And so much is on pause, kind of. The grants program's not been on pause, and but it feels like so much of what this commission might normally be doing just has had to be, curtailed.
Wouldn't it be great if we could have like a kind of a news feed from each city where, you automatically had news pulled from, Winneba or Pojo or wherever. I mean, I don't know how you could necessarily sift through what news you would want to promote or what you might not. Obviously, you wouldn't want I wouldn't want the world to see every tidbit of news from Charlottesville. And, I'm sure we wouldn't want every tidbit of news from Besançon, but it would be interesting to have something that you could something that wasn't incumbent on someone to, read the news of every city, every week, something little automatic. I don't know, something to think about.
Well, and I'd like
Kind
to
of
say, if I could, for my part, I realized again, in doing preparations for the retreat today, I realized that one of my weak spots has been that I have not been feeding the communication and outreach committee information about our French sister city at all. And I think it's, goes to your point, Adrienne, which is, so I'm acknowledging and have made, one of the nice things about getting ready for the retreat is I made this long to-do list for myself. And one of the things that's on that list that I want to be more committed to going forward is it's my job as the sister city rep to stay on top of what's happening there. And if possible, to make sure that we're including both on our website and other ways, regular updates about things that might be of interest to kind of, keep our community, the information's there, whether our community chooses to consume it or not is another thing. But so that I acknowledge that is something that I have not been really attending to, and I have made it a personal goal to improve that. And so I really appreciate you pointing out, Adrienne, that that's, a one way to kind of keep things going related to the sister cities when there's so many other things that are on pause for some of us.
Something like a sister city news page or website, something like that, well, like a news page, that sounds like a perfect project for an intern,
It does.
someone who really is looking to do something that's unique. And I mean, I would think that would be perfect for a college student to do. I think about the intern work that we have done at the Center for Politics, and if we had someone who is really dedicated to researching news from our sister cities and posting and reposting them, I don't know, something to consider. Because especially right now, while we are quite, low on commission members, might be nice to hand off projects like this to, a student who might like a unique, resume bullet point. Charlottesville Sister City Commission's intern. Is there anything against having an intern or someone like that?
Are you asking Max or?
I'm asking, yeah, Max. I got a nod no from Dave. Yeah, I mean, it would probably be, I mean, obviously I would present, there's no official role in our bylaws for such a person. But Max, do you foresee any issue with us recruiting someone like that? Or would they?
No, yeah, I don't foresee an issue. They wouldn't have an official role, but I don't foresee an issue.
Would there be a problem with the person like listing on their resume, for example, Charlottesville Sister Cities Commission intern? I mean, that's basically what they're doing. Okay. Well, that's something,
So Damon, as you know, probably as well as anybody, the only challenge there is when you have an intern like from UVA, you need to have somebody supervising them and kind of giving them direction. And I'd hate to dump that on Max or,
Oh yeah.
Just 'cause I'm sure Max has a very full plate as it is. So, but if we could figure that out, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, it's something to consider. Obviously, one thing with interns is they don't last forever and succession is an issue. But, if nothing else, it's a thought, a way that we can have someone else do a little work. Okay, thank you. Those were good thoughts and comments. Any other comments on the strategic plan? We're kind of breezing over it, unfortunately, but we're going to quickly run out of time. We are already 1/3 of the way through our meeting, more than 1/3. Okay, in that case, we will move on. Okay, next on our agenda is a discussion of current sister city relationships. Are contacts up to date? Any updates? So did anyone in their, especially sister city reps, have any updates that they would like to share? I know that in the document that Adrian created, she pointed out a couple of resources that we had on the drive. And I think one of them had a list of contacts in Winneba, and the other one was contacts in, let's see, it was another. Oh, and also, let's see. I mean, I could share those with you. I mean, we have the Winneba contacts. Dave or Nana, do you think we're pretty current on? I guess yeah, no, okay.
Yeah, and thanks for whoever sent that link out to prompt us to review that. That document is several years old now, so I made a note to myself already to, so we need to update that. I have a more current contacts list on my own computer, so I'll upload that to the drive.
Nice. I mean, I think this this subject matter is similar to a lot of what we're looking at. Is we have a lot of old information. I mean, especially with COVID and a lot of turnover. I know that we have new people in Pojo, and we have probably every city has a lot of turnover from our list.
Well,
and
speaking of which, I think just yesterday, Nana, or the day before, a new mayor has been nominated for Winneba, replacing the mayor that's been in the office for over 4 years now, or for I think 4 years now. So that's another name that'll need to be updated, assuming his nomination is confirmed. So
Also sounds like something for a news feed.
could we set as a goal for next month's meeting that these contact sheets, that the rep for each city would make sure that there's a current contact sheet? Even if some things still need to be filled in, but at least they won't have old stuff on them.
Yeah, I think that's a great goal. And I appreciate the prompt as well, because I realized there isn't even a Besançon contact in that particular folder on the drive. And all the contacts that would have been, I'm going to turn my video off because I'm unstable again. All the contacts that would have been in place when Yates Nobles was on the commission have now changed, because there's been an entire change in the government in Besançon. A new mayor last summer, and she brought in a new cabinet, and as you can imagine, all kinds of new folks. So I need to do my homework, and I've made a note to myself, just like you've made a note to yourself, Dave, to create a current contacts list that I can upload to the drive. So I think that's a good idea to try to have that as a piece of homework. I appreciate being assigned homework, otherwise I can't, I may not, it could fall in the cracks.
Well, and with this particular topic, let's say one of us, we leave and we don't, I mean, it's kind of a situation where you all probably came in and maybe you were given a few contact people's names, or maybe you knew them already. But if for some reason you had to up and move away suddenly, if we didn't have those in our Google Drive, the new person, whenever that person would come along, might not know who to be in touch with, and probably the rest of us wouldn't either. So it's definitely something that'd be good to make current and hopefully keep up. All right. Anything else on that topic?
Yeah, the chief of Winneba, the chief of Winneba, what we call the overlord of the Futu traditional area, is looking into establishing a new is looking into establishing a new sister city office to deal with with the mayor's office. The chief is also trying to establish a sister city office to deal with affairs of Charlottesville and Winneba sister city issues. And when that is established, we will then be able to give you a full update of all the necessary contacts from Winneba. Yeah, we don't only deal with the political figures, we deal also with the traditional rulers who are the landowners of the place. Am I making sense?
Yeah,
Nana,
Yeah.
are you saying that in Winneba, in order to have an updated contact list, we have to wait a little bit of time because there's some procedures or some arrangements or that still have to take place there?
Yes. One, in our system in Ghana, the president of Ghana nominates a mayor for every city. And it was, I think, on Sunday that a new mayor was nominated. But then he hasn't been confirmed yet. Yeah, so we are yet to confirm. He's yet to be confirmed to become an official mayor. So we have to update that. The old one that we've been dealing with is gone. As at Sunday, he was no more. But and so the new one is going to be confirmed, and so we'll have to update that. And then just when I was coming, I had a meeting with the chief, who is the king of the whole place, and he also is seriously looking into establishing a sister city office for the Winneba-Charlottesville relationship, because when a new election is done every 4 years, and the political figures are changed, things will change. But then the office of the chief remains permanent. You see, so immediately that one is established, that one is going to be permanent. So because until the chief dies, nobody is able to remove him. You see, but then the political figure could be removed every 4 years. Yeah, I hope I'm making sense.
yeah. And you said the chief is like a tribal figure or a landowner of the area?
Again?
You said the chief would be like a tribal figure or a
Yes.
landowner in the area?
Yes, he is the actual the owner of the city.
Okay,
Yeah.
It's like in England, the Queen of England is the head of state, and you know, in Ghana, the chiefs are the heads of state, the traditional authorities, and then they have the mayors who are the civil authorities. So
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Damon, can I, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Could I add something to the conversation?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I noticed that our roster is also needing to be updated since we've lost a few members. And it seemed to me, unless there is any objection or unless you, Damon, feel like that should be your responsibility, that as secretary, I should just plan to make the necessary updates to that roster.
Absolutely, please do.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's the roster. It's just a list.
I know.
You're not
But
changing who is who.
Yeah, but it ought to be, it ought to be up to date. And so if anybody has, if everybody will take a look at that before the next meeting and make sure that your contact information is still what it should be, and email me directly if you have a change to an email address or other contact information that you want to be reflected, and I'll receive all of those, and then I'll update our contact list and make sure that's in the drive.
There was also an older one that was a spreadsheet called the CSCC contact info.
Yep,
And the format on that was kind of nice because it also had like when people were appointed.
that's right, and when their term expired.
Right.
That would be a nice addition. Do you want me to make that one?
Sure. Yeah, the last time that looks like it was updated. Well, no, there's some in here that were term expires in 2021, but neither of those, I don't recognize those two names. So
Okay.
it looks
I
like.
think that maybe had been from
was
a
updated.
couple of iterations ago, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a good addition, Michael. It just kind of keeps us all in the loop on, where we all stand in terms of and so actually what would be helpful is if each of you would let me know when you stepped on the commission, what year you were appointed, what was your, when you were appointed, to the term that you're currently in.
Max,
And actually, yeah,
don't you
yeah.
have that document?
Yeah, I do, and I can forward it on. I'll do that
Thank
right
you.
now.
Okay, that's great. That saves me some time.
So yeah,
Okay.
that's a good point, because we've had a lot of people drop in the last few months. So that could definitely use some updating. Thank you.
And I'll just take that on as long as I'm secretary. I'll just continue to update it as new commissioners come on. And
So that means you're going to continue as our secretary. We are most grateful for that.
well, I was going to offer to do that, yes,
Thank you.
tonight, if everybody's okay with that.
We will get there.
Gotta
but
whip these files into shape. I'm not finished yet.
you can't stop now. All right. Okay. Back to our agenda.
We have a 6-minute break.
Hey, actually, we do still have time for a break. Discussion of current sister city relationships.
I could use it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's go ahead then and take a break, and then we'll reconvene at we'll shoot for 6 o'clock, maybe do like 6:02 or something like that. All right,
Okay.
let's take a quick break. Whew.
Hello. 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 I'm in a break. I'm in a 6 minutes
I guess we should probably come back. Stella, Amanda, are you all in the background?
Yes, I'm here. I'll turn my video back on.
Okay, that's fine. All right, next on our agenda is review of goals and achievements for 2021. And I can share our subcommittee meeting minutes that included our goals, if that would be helpful to y'all. One moment.
Damon, I'm not sure, but there might be a document that might be more current. And it's the goals document that I think Elizabeth reminded me about.
Okay.
It's in, are you in the Google Drive?
I am.
It's in archived meetings and minutes. And then the first one is agenda, larger folder is agenda and minutes. And then if you go into archived, it's the 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not 100% sure that those subcommittee meeting minutes aren't similar or possibly better, but I think that one is a succinct listing of
prettier.
goals that each committee had.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, you can share it. Okay. And you can let me know as we go through if you think your particular committee has, if the minutes might be a little bit more current. Amanda, would you like to kick it off? Your thoughts? I cannot hear you I know you're not muted.
Now?
Oh, now I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. In terms of our grants committee goals, I think we've done pretty well. We, for goals 1 and 2, which were really focused on preparing and executing the 2020-2021 grants cycle, I think we moved through that process. We had some delays compared to normal previous years, I think, in light of the COVID restrictions, but we were still able to run the process maybe with about a month's delay and shifted the timeline slightly. But we now have a great group of grantees working on their projects. And we know that grantees from the prior year during COVID are also continuing to execute on their past year projects. So I think overall, we've kind of carried out those basic functions. The goal 3 focused on the scholarship award process, which we hope to complete by April. We did not meet our timeline there, but it is on the agenda for this evening. And so hoping to have further engagement with a full commission around this, but it's work that the grants committee had started the prior year and got put on pause with no travel. So yeah, we'll be taking that up further.
Please, am I the only stranger in Jerusalem?
In what way?
Because the agenda is the last one that we are discussing now. Review goals achievement for 2020-21. It's from 7 o'clock to 7:30.
No, the agenda was revised.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I think you're looking at the draft agenda. So we
okay.
flipped them a little bit.
Okay.
We wanted to make sure that we didn't run out of time.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Okay. That means I perfectly accept that I'm the only stranger in Jerusalem. Thank you.
Amanda and everyone, I wanted to add one suggestion to our goals for the grants subcommittee, and that is that we we get a little better on requesting reports. This says request reports every other month. I don't know, that might be, if that's a good cycle or a good regularity, great. But I was just thinking that for the moment, we could maybe at our next grants committee meeting, or we could even determine this now, that between Amanda, Dave, me, and Damon, I think, we could each take one of the current grant winners and contact them and get an update. Because unless it may be, Amanda, that you're very updated, but I feel like we've kind of been, there's been a long silence, and except for the one grant project with Mountainside Arts, we don't know too much about what's happening with each of these current grant winners.
Thank you, Adrian. I agree. I think that would be an improvement area. One of the suggestions and something we can follow up on as a grants committee is that I'd started sort of a grants dashboard, which everyone can access in the shared documents, which includes the latest kind of status of each grant. And I was proposing that we might want to, within the grants committee, just divide up responsibility for regular routine follow-up with grantees. So, and some of that comes, in the form of an email to the grants Google Mail, Gmail account. Some of it comes through our city reps. So it comes in different ways, but it might be good to have a liaison for each grantee going forward who can kind of routinely follow up, whether it's every other month or so, on how the progress of the grant. So I think that would be an improvement area. And I can follow up after this session too with the rest of the committee around how we might put some of those processes in place.
Great.
Amanda, is the dashboard created, or is that still in process?
I have created a draft version, but I don't know if the rest of the committee has looked at it. I think it's saved in the grants folder. So let me see if I can find the link, and happy to share that link in the chat box.
That link, yeah, that link, Amanda, is in your email of August 17th, which I am remiss on, because I noticed it when you updated us on the material to read for the travel scholarship. So that's where we can find that, and we can get up to speed. Or if I'm the only one, I can get up to speed.
Thank you, Amanda, for all the good work you're doing for our committee.
Thanks.
Anyone
Yeah,
else
no,
have
and thanks.
questions for?
Thanks to the whole committee. It's been a team effort, really. Yeah, and I think continuing to try, and I know in our last subcommittee meeting, I think it was just Damon and I, but we did capture some reflections on the past process and areas for improvement. So hopefully we can really put those into practice for the next, I think those are documented in our minutes from the last subcommittee meeting. So we can hopefully, I think, make a few adjustments to the application form and a few other process improvements for the next cycle.
Amanda, what's the current estimated timeline for the next cycle?
Yes, good question. Let's see, I believe historically deadline for applications was, I have to go back to 2 years ago to see what that timeline looked like. But I think normally the applications are submitted in December, right? I think in the first week or two of December, and decision making happens, I think, at the January meeting, if I'm remembering correctly. But let me just verify that and follow up with everyone on it. So yeah, so we'll probably need to get that rolling very soon. It's almost time to launch the new cycle.
Yeah, it sounds like we need to start doing some communications to remind people about it and get them thinking about it to be able to submit something in December.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me look for the past timeline and we can kind of update that with our current meeting cycle and yeah, when we need to put out an announcement and communications about it too.
Good thoughts. The year has gone by so quickly. All right, on to communications and outreach. Would you all like to comment?
One second.
I just want to say thank you to Michael for doing such a great job with the website.
I mostly did minor updates, so I can't take credit for that. The framework that was there was very helpful. So, and the Wix stuff is not too difficult to do. But that's a good segue because one of the things, I'll skip ahead. One of the things that we did complete was goal 1, the website content updates. I think it ended up being after January 2021, but it was around February or March. We have had some discussions, I believe, and Adrian and others keep me honest on this. I think we had discussions on the communications governance structure and plan, but I don't know that we have something that's official or approved.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a room for improvement, and it connects with what Elizabeth was saying, sort of a mutual interaction between us and communications, maybe nudging or every so having some kind of regular calendar where we nudge or bug our reps for information. That's just one set of information. And then we get it out there. But it's getting the content, it's producing or getting the content to us so that we can promote it. And no, we haven't really figured out like a little rhythm. We did divide up some of the social media channels among Michael and Stella and me, but we haven't put something in place that kind of keeps the engine running.
Recommendations on future social media. So goal 3, we've had some discussions about it. We do not have a final plan on particularly whether or not to move the content to the Charlottesville City website. Some of the goal 2, what Adrian was just saying, does play into the standardizing and improving consistency of the content, but there's still room for improvement there. So I'd say that one is also still in progress. If you could scroll down just a little bit, Dan. Goal 4, I don't know that we did that.
What is this, are you the main person, Michael? And then, I'm not sure I know this.
Yeah, I'm the primary, so the just having another person that can go in and do updates on it when we have urgent content, or if I'm, out of commission for any reason, or honestly just succession planning, for if one of us, particularly on the website, but for any of the social medias, leaves the commission for any reason, having somebody that's familiar with it enough to be able to pick it up.
The goal 3 about the website, I quite some time ago, this website came up with the commission, and there seemed to be a whole lot of legalities concerning we creating a website.
They said that we were the only commission that had our own website. We're also different in a couple of other ways as a commission. but that was one of them that was related to the website. That the other commissions do their content on the city website, but there was some questions that were outstanding about could we technically do our own updates on the city website if we were to do that or not. I don't think we got an answer on that. And then if we couldn't do the updates, what does that mean for the structure and content of our website? Would it dramatically have to change dramatically or not? Because we can't just port what we have over to the city website. It would have to be transformed somehow. So it would look different. It would act different. Some of the sections would be different. But then if we're not able to make direct updates to it, then that also means that how we do outreach through that website would change as well.
Oh, okay. Because there was some confusion. The problem was that some things on our website may, some city issues might drift into our website, which is seriously controlled by legalities and all that. So there was a little confusion between our website and the city website. So I don't know where, probably Mas can tell us more, or that has been cleared, right, Michael?
I don't know that it's fully resolved. I think
Okay.
who was the, we were working with I can't remember his name before Lachin.
Was that Brian?
Yes, we were working with Brian on that.
Okay.
Talking about the limitations, and when you came on, I don't know that we really continued those conversations.
Okay.
Michael, may I just ask a random question? Is the Wix platform hard to work with?
No, I mean, it's pretty, I would describe it as the term is WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. So you basically, it's a little trickier than doing stuff in like a Word doc, but it's similar. And if you can handle the weirdness of formatting of tables and pictures and other things in a Word doc, then you can definitely handle this. Most of what I've done, and this is why I can't take a lot of credit, is just took the existing template that was there and filled in new content. You know, added some spaces, cleaned up some presentation, made the fonts look the same, but it's not dramatically different than it was when I took it over. And I'm happy to, you know, spend an hour or 2 or 3 to walk anybody through who wants to volunteer to be that secondary person to, you know, walk through it and do some content changes, and then also do stuff like online updates together for some period of time, just so that you just have the practice there.
Yeah, so there's a little overlap. Yeah.
Right.
I might be willing to be that person.
Okay.
We can talk.
Okay.
Something like that might also be, you know, a good role for a new person on the commission whenever that might come along, you know, just something.
And I was also thinking
Not
about
to take that away from you, Adrian.
take away, take away. I was thinking too about potentially an intern, but then again, you might want someone who has a little more staying power for that type of thing.
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge with interns. They can provide good work, but then they're gone in a year or 2.
Right.
All right. Anything else for communications? Thank you, Michael, and the communications team. Outreach.
Since you are talking about the outreach, please, what are we, the other time I mentioned a sister city week
Mhm.
to actually sensitize the community about the sister city, the taxpayers who fund us. Most of them don't know anything about the what sister city is all about.
Mhm.
And so I was recommending a sister city week with, TV, radio, interviews, food, and all those things. Where are we with that?
So when you brought that up, we created it's not that one. We did create some outreach ideas, but it hasn't moved forward very far. I personally, I will blame the pandemic. I get a little nervous going to the city market for vegetables. I'm not really that interested in doing a lot
Okay.
more than that. But did take down the ideas for, that we could meet with local community groups, churches, the Ghana Association you recommended, possibly local residents from who are either from or have some sort of connection to our sister cities, working with schools, working with city representatives. That's all, I think, mostly new stuff or new to most of us. I know what we've done in the past has been participation in like the Festival of the Book or the Festival of Cultures. But the Festival of Cultures didn't really happen, and the Festival of the Book was all online. And we donated to it, but that was, I think, the extent of it.
I think too, we may need to clarify the jobs or tasks of this particular subcommittee, because my sense was always that we were communicating, that we were getting the word out. Not so much that we were initiating and, pulling off events. So I think for something as ambitious as Sister City Week, and I think it sounds like a great idea, but I think that would be something that would need to have the whole commission behind it, and not the outreach subcommittee, certainly, planning it, making it happen. I see us more as like, there's an event, there's content, there's information, there's something, and we see to it that it gets promoted as best can be. But I've been uncomfortable a little bit with thinking that we are also in charge of making events happen, outreach in the community that way. And maybe I need to understand better what this committee, what the charge of this committee really is, but
Adrian, I think that the charge is also that the charge could be just the name itself, outreach. The name itself, and a Sister City Week is the only thing that the outreach committee is going to do is to become the what I will call the think tank for what to do, and then bring it to the full commission for the commission's blessing and the full support of the commission. It is not only the outreach committee which is going to do it, like the finance committee brings finance issue to the whole commission. Am I making sense?
I mean, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead, Damon.
I tend to think that if it comes to creating specific events that connect a sister city, those event ideas would probably come from the people who most know those cities, and that being the commissioners associated with the cities. I mean, my understanding for this particular group is they are there to promote the things that we do and communicate, because communication is the first part of the title of their committee. Now, that's not to say that, you know, they don't have areas to contribute, and you all feel free to disagree with me. But I think the best ideas for particular sister city events will probably come from those who are sister city representatives, or closely tied, or are you know, organizations or people within the community, like Ishtatan Foundation and entities like that.
Could I make a suggestion?
Sure.
So I've been thinking about this some, specifically in terms of my own sister city, this very issue about to what degree am I the one who's supposed to be organizing, creating, organizing, and directing events and exchanges? And to what degree am I supposed to be more of a resource person, and other people in the community are making those things happen? And I think that this is the same kind of issue, the next level up, which is if we as a commission wanted to take on as an annual event, if we wanted as a commission to create and sponsor an annual event called Sister City Week in Charlottesville, that could be a terrific way in which we create something that keeps the community engaged with our sister cities. But we would need, I think, to create some kind of ad hoc volunteer committee composed of energetic volunteers from within the community who would work in coordination with perhaps the city reps themselves and others who support the city sister relationships. And that committee would need to be charged with creating and making the event happen, because I don't see how we as a commission could do that very successfully without there being a large number of community members who agree to sort of be out there doing whatever would be involved. You know, finding a venue, finding sponsors if we wanted sponsors, you know, coming up with ideas for, you know, vendors, coming up with ideas for activities that would be part of Sister City Week, or setting up interviews, you know. And so if we're talking about some kind of a week's worth of events that would be an effort to involve the whole community, it seems like we'd have to make a commitment that we want to do that. And then we'd have to find a really nice, healthy group of people who agree to form some kind of a, you know, some kind of a planning committee and or, you know, a program committee to help support make that happen. If it's, is that speaking to at all to what you were envisioning, Nana?
I'm thinking the planning should come from us, and then so that we can engage the community for assistance to be able to do that. It is hard work. It is seriously a hard work. It is not a simple thing.
Right.
It's
It
hard
involve
work.
a lot of
Yes,
energy.
it needs a lot of commitment to be able to, you know, it is interesting that because I'm retired, I have a lot of time at hand to deal with Winneba issues. You see, I have no 8 o'clock job to go to and 5 o'clock to come home. You see, because I'm retired, I have time to do, and it's a lot of work. Even Winneba, planning about Winneba alone is, gee, it's a full-time job altogether. And then more so planning for a week of, it's hard work. And we have to be committed to do that. I usually ask if I'm making sense.
Yes, I think that makes sense. I think so. I think, you know, I can't imagine, well, I don't know, I speak for myself. You know, in theory, I'm completely 100% in support of the idea. But I think it's going to require that someone or some combination of people on the commission decide that they are interested enough to to sit down and work together to create a proposal and a plan that we can vote on or that we can approve, and then to go out and figure out how to make it happen. And, you know, I'm sure not all of us, you know, are you know, able to do that. So I'm in theory, I'm totally behind that. I think it would be fabulous, but because we are an all volunteer committee, because we are actually limping along without a full commission, and because we have no paid staff person whose job in this community is to help us implement the work of the Sister City Commission, we'd be hard pressed to pull that off, I think, Nana, unless you'd like to take it on, you know, in your retirement.
The unfortunate thing is that now I can't drive because of my surgery.
Yeah.
You see, yeah, there's a big, huge plate in my neck, which doesn't allow me to drive. So, you know, but we can, I recommend that we start very small, like a radio interview, a TV interview, talk about Winneba, talk about the other sister cities, what the whole thing is about. Small steps that will take us to a bigger, you know, but by that time, by the time we reach the bigger steps, Mr. Coronavirus will be controlled, and then we can handle it. You see, yeah. You see, so we let us. I recommend that we should just start in a small way, like, you know, a TV interview, a radio interview of some sort. Talk about the sister city, make people aware that, hey, this is what it's all about. I think, you know, without the fanfare.
Here's an idea for you all to consider. As we create this year's new grants program, that we incorporate in our application our request for grant proposals, the expectation that the awardees present something about their project during a specific Charlottesville Sister Cities Week. That way, we're not creating things that we A, don't have time to do, or B, don't have the specific, you know, experiences to do. We could include, you know, the expectation that, and maybe it's not a week, maybe it's a series or something like that. But, you know, let the people that are doing the grant work with our sister cities, and hopefully we'll have someone doing something for each city. Let that be the outreach, because not only are we, you know, sharing about the Sister Cities commissions, but we're promoting the opportunity for residents in our city to themselves be a part of the program. So that would be my suggestion, that we try to incorporate this vision, and I agree, I think it's a good one. I think that would be the easiest and most efficient, and probably maybe the best way to do it is look to that possibility. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I love the idea. Yeah, I like it a lot, especially the idea of a series, something people could dip back into or return to. And my idea of earlier in our meeting about a little, even a slideshow, a virtual slideshow, or some type of event on the history of the Sister City Commission, could be one of those small steps, Nana, that you mentioned. And that would be more Sister City related as opposed to individual Sister City project. So that could be, we have a couple of small steps that have just, plus if you're talking about a TV or radio interview, that's more. So we've, in the space of 5-10 minutes, we've generated quite a few ideas for small steps.
Yeah, anyway, like the Damon said, let us all go sleep over it, think over it, and then see where we go from there.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, because so many people just ask me, what is all this about Sister City?
Mhm.
And I'm like, don't you know? It's been around for a long time. And you see, very few people even know that we have sister cities in Europe, because it is only the Winneba group that is only making noise and sending groups up and down. You see,
Well, the Winneba group, has a wonderful, there's the foundation, that's out there as a clear partner to the Sister City Commission, to the Winneba rep at the Sister City Commission. And there is not a comparable foundation for either our French or our Italian sister cities. There's not a comparable local organization whose sole purpose is to promote friendship or connection with that sister city. So I think you're lucky in that regard, because you've got, and the Ishtatan Foundation will probably be that for Wewe Tenango. But, there is not a comparable kind of clear partner group in Charlottesville for either of the other two sister cities. And that could certainly be, we could use that. That would be a lovely aspirational goal, but I think you're lucky that you have that helps to make a lot of noise about the Winneba Charlottesville sister city relationship, because there's another organization whose mission is to promote that relationship and is to educate our local community about Winneba.
Well, folks, I hate to push things along, but we still have quite a bit on our agenda and we're a little bit behind. So how about we roll to education? Is there someone who would like to report on education committee goals?
Well, Damon, I think you and I are the only two remaining from that committee, right? So I think we probably have not accomplished any of those goals. They're still ongoing. We lost our education representative, our K-12 education representative. So we're sort of limping along without that. I think that they're still relevant goals, and they just need to be sort of, I would say, I don't know that any of them no longer make sense. I think they all still seem to me to be appropriate goals and not unachievable goals. We just need to keep kicking the can down the road. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I think for goal number 3, we did participate in the art project.
We did, and I can update you quickly about that to let you know that in August, Sister Cities International announced the winners of the Young Artist and Authors Showcase. So we had 2 Charlottesville students submit entries into that showcase. They were both photography students. Unfortunately, neither one of them was chosen as a winner. But they did receive a nice communication from Sister Cities International, and I have been in touch just this week with the photography teacher at the high school that that sort of encouraged them to apply and sort of oversaw their work. And she is willing, for me, I'm drafting letters of appreciation on our letterhead to just formally acknowledge their participation and to thank them for being part of the showcase. And I'm going to forward those to her so she can get them to the students. There's plenty of enthusiasm still for this becoming an annual way to get local students to engage and to get involved in something that's sponsored by Sister Cities International. And as long as I'm sitting on the committee, I'll be happy to be the person who kind of spearheads that. So
Do you know when the deadline, the next deadline is?
yes, so they usually announce the theme and announce that they're opening the competition around the end of December and maybe the beginning of January. So I'm already, I'm already watching it. I'm already receiving communications from Sister Cities International, the contacts I made there about it. And I already have Aaron Eichhorst, who is the coordinator of fine and performing arts for the Charlottesville City School System. He's already ready and willing to kind of be our point person to get the word out to kids who are in high school and in the middle school, because that's the age range that's allowed to participate. So we're ready to go to promote it more widely and to be on top of it right from the very beginning next year. And the deadline for entry submissions is always May the 1st. And then Sister Cities International has a jury that looks at all of the artworks that are submitted and chooses the winners. And the winners are always announced at the Sister Cities International Youth Leadership Summit, which is always in the summer, usually in August. So we'll be on top of the schedule this time around. And hopefully we can recruit a couple of volunteers to kind of be a little bit of a committee for us to think about how we might be able to plan a community event that would allow us to showcase the students who decide to participate next year.
If the commission will support us, the Winneba group can make this essay and art thing work very well for us by like we can create an essay competition in Winneba and for the Winneba group, and then the winner in Winneba will participate in this.
Well, Nana, why don't you and I make plans to talk one-on-one at some other point about that idea?
No problem at all.
Is the contest open to people outside of the specific sister cities? Can it be anywhere globally?
It's open to any school students who are in a sister city that is a member of a community that is a member of Sister Cities International.
Oh, cool.
So we're a member of Sister Cities International, and it is. And that's one of their guidelines is that the students who are invited to participate are students in the community of a Sister Cities International member. But it's all over. It is not just in the United States. I mean, I believe that the showcase is open to international students as well. And I'd have to go back and look at that just to verify that, whether it's all US based or whether, and Sister Cities International selects the theme every year. So the Sister Cities International selects the theme, announces the showcase is open, and then begins to invite students to make submissions. So, and writing is one of them. Essays is one of them. So anyway, Nana, when you and I talk, I can kind of go over that, sort of the outlines of that, and see, talk further about whether that might be an opportunity for collaboration. And
No problem at all.
Okay, great.
Are you open to anyway? My house is COVID free. All my family, my wife, my children, everybody is vaccinated. Are you willing to come and eat African food and we sit down and discuss it?
Sure.
Cool. Pick a date.
Okay, well, we'll email. How about if I reach out after I'll reach out to you after the retreat sometime.
Okay, no problem.
And not to go over this too much more, but this is currently, like right now, the Hispanic Heritage Month. I wonder if there's anything that we could do with the Ishtahan Foundation and maybe one of the local schools to talk about Huehue and how they're a new friendship city, and mention the Sister Cities Commission. I mean, if that's something that folks are interested in, I could reach out to the principal of my daughter's school, Jackson Villa. I just would need to know who to talk to at the Ishtahan Foundation.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
We can definitely get you in touch with Elias. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. And I would think he would be more than excited to do something with the school if the school is open to it. You know, it might be an opportunity also. I don't know, we can think about, I don't know if there's even just a press release from the sisters, from the commission, you know, with a further kind of welcome to our friendship city, Huehue Tenango, and
Yeah.
you know, something like that. Also, just to put out there to remind people about it and that about our relationship. Something like that might also be a possibility. It's a great suggestion. So yeah, I will make a note to follow up with you with Elias's contact information, and we can go from there. That's a good one for our next committee goal. I don't really guess we have a full committee on Huehue, but I think I think we reported on the gathering we had back in July in our last meeting. I don't necessarily know if we need to repeat that, other than we did meet with many local officials and representatives from Huehue Tenango, and it was a a valuable opportunity to get to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
Anything I'd like to add regarding this particular Spanish-speaking sister city?
I can add something real quick.
Sure.
So in August, the Ishtahan Foundation invited commission members to come and participate in their 20th anniversary celebration, which was several weeks ago. And so I went to that celebration to represent this, our Sister Cities Commission. And I was invited to just say a few words as part of their presentation, which I was really glad to be able to do, sort of send greetings from the Sister City Commission. But the important thing I want to mention there is I had a chance to meet Elias, Alonso, and Ronaldo, who is the executive director of the Ishatan Foundation, he's based in the Weiwei office. So he had come from Guatemala just for this celebration. So I was able to meet them both in person and have a brief conversation with them. And they are struggling, they tell me, to figure out how to create bylaws and a structure, organizational structure for their sister city commission that's forming in Huehuetenango. And I mentioned, Damon, to them that I knew if they became, I knew that if you were a member of Sister Cities International, you have access to a whole toolkit that they make available, guidelines for how to set up a sister city commission. I don't know if that's something that we can provide them since we're members, but I think it would be really helpful. And I think Damon, probably as the chair, you're the one who would have to request that from SCI. They have amazing resources available to members, and it would be wonderful as a gesture to them, and in our best interest also, if we could get them connected with some of those materials.
Absolutely. And another, as an add-on to that, I do believe there are a couple of other sister cities in Guatemala who I'm sure have bylaws of their sister cities. So in addition to connecting them to the international organization, maybe the people at international might connect them with other Guatemala sister cities who could share their,
Yes. Yeah.
share their bylaws, because I'm sure they would probably be, have similar needs and expectations and structures. All right, well, that sounds good. And thank you so much. I'm glad you brought that up. I really appreciate you going and attending that event.
My pleasure.
Representing us there. It would have been a real shame if we weren't there. So thank you for doing that on behalf of the commission. All right, anyone? Oh, move along. Now we're at Winneba.
Oh,
You would like to share anything?
yeah, we are trying to when I was in Winneba this last trip, we tried as much as possible to meet with all the departments that form the department under the Winneba Municipal Assembly, which is the equivalent of the city council here. Our main goal is to connect all those departments to departments in Charlottesville for them to have their own separate technical cooperation under the auspices of the foundation, of the Charlottesville Winneba Foundation. So, for instance, the fire service, the fire department, the police, the prisons, the hospitals. Today, we met with the vice president of diversity of UVA Hospital to discuss the cooperation between the Winneba Health System and the Charlottesville Health System. I did a whole lot of about 4 or 5 TV interviews talking about Charlottesville and Winneba. And we are even trying to find a TV station that can have a technical cooperation with a TV station in Ghana. And in December, formally, we were organizing one trip every year to coincide with the deer hunting festival in May. But then we realized that there are two major festivals. The Masquerading Festival, which happens at the end of December, getting to the 1st of January. So now we are organizing two trips. So another group of people will be going in December, at the end of December, to witness the biggest masquerading festival in the whole wide world. And Charlottesville's presence has been felt there for about 2-3 years. And again, we will organize another trip in April for the deer hunting festival. So and one of the major themes of all these festivals, the underlying themes, is for people to understand the transatlantic slave trade. See, to make people aware of what happened, and so virtually everything here is very doable. All what we need is money. So give us some. Am I making sense?
Mm-hmm.
David.
Well, I think today we're reporting on our goals. I don't know if we're prepared to vote on financing programs today, but I would suggest let's include conversation on that in the agenda of our meeting next month in October, and we could discuss that at that time. I know we're running very short today, and that's something that we would definitely want to dedicate, our attention to, so we thoroughly know, what we're doing and what we're funding and all the details. So I will make note that you and I can communicate and get a good understanding of what you'd like to propose, and then we can include that in our next commission meeting.
You see, the interesting thing is that most of these things are funded by myself and other well wishers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Another thing we'll need to look pretty closely also at where our bank account stands, and our upcoming grant, opportunities. Anyway, let's definitely communicate with each other and try and figure out how we want to include this in our upcoming meeting in October. That sounds good. I am impressed at how the travel to Winneba has continued on during all these challenging times. I think that's fantastic. Okay, thank you, Nana.
But by the way, who in the commission will want to go to Winneba with us?
At some point in the future, I think it'd be awesome. I'd love to, but I don't know if I can promise to do that this year. But I mean, it sounds amazing.
Money and time are always the challenges. Maybe we should apply for the scholarships, although I don't think that's
Yes.
Well, I guess that's a good segue.
on that topic. Okay.
Damon, look, you've heard so much about Winneba. You are not even making an attempt to go.
To go, I would love to go. Who wouldn't?
Okay.
I would love to. All right, thank you, Nana. Besançon, and I know that we're scheduled to wrap up our meeting at 7:30, which is 25 minutes away. We have quite a bit of contact in front of us. I don't want to extend too much, but are we definitely, Matt, and this question for Max, are we set at wrapping up at 7:30? Not that we want to go over much, but if we go over 10 minutes, is that a problem?
I think that it would be okay. I believe that Lasheen is joining us.
You guys are fine. You can go a little bit longer.
Okay, not that we want to keep on going forever, but maybe we can try and hustle through. No.
So I can make
go
my
ahead, Elizabeth.
I'll make my Besançon report really quick. So I'm on track with all of these goals. I've accomplished for the 2020 goals. Yeah, I've accomplished all those goals, and the 2021. There are not going to be any student exchanges this year, and it's not even clear whether there will be student exchanges next year. But I've talked with all the key players, and we're even considering a proposal for a new exchange that coming from a new and different school in Besançon. So we're just sort of sitting tight until our superintendent decides to kind of green light that students exchanges can resume. And there are a couple of other initiatives floating out around there that I can wait and report on when there's actually something to say about them. My question, though, is I wanted to ask Damon, when is it that you are wanting us to start drafting our 21-22 goals and have those submitted?
Well, we probably 2022 is rapidly approaching.
I was thinking that we drafted these around this time last year. So
Yeah, maybe it's time that we have these meetings again, and yeah, probably so. I mean, we could, I don't know if after this we want to make that the topic of our next meeting, or if we want to push it to November. Do y'all have an opinion? Anyone have a preference? Because I think in order to set these goals, we need to have, committee meetings.
I think November would be more attainable.
Yeah. I think so.
That makes sense to me. So
I'm also looking at the minutes of our retreat last year, and we did the review of the past goals, but I don't think we did specific planning for the future goals. So November probably makes sense.
Okay, well, let's look towards our November meeting to focus on committee goals.
Draft of committee goals. Okay. That's really it from me. You can move on.
Is that just a reminder? Didn't we have quarterly subcommittee meetings? So is that what we're talking about in November, or didn't we have that once every 3 months we'd have 2.5 hours and each subcommittee would get 45 minutes of it?
Yes, and the last time we did that was in May.
So we are probably due.
Yeah,
Maybe
we'd
October.
be due for like a fourth quarter subcommittee meeting. Sometime between now and December would be good.
Okay.
I guess if we could set those up in advance of drafting goals for 21-22, that'd be good. Maybe in October, we can see if
Maybe October would work.
yeah, if we could set aside time, check with the schedule.
For subcommittee meetings.
For subcommittee meetings. In the case of Besançon goals, I don't have a committee. I mean, I'm the committee.
Right.
I'm just gonna start working on mine because I already, I just am behind, but that's easy enough for me to do on my own.
I think you're probably on the ball as much or more than many of the rest of us.
Well, I don't know about that. I pull it together right in time for the meeting.
That's why we have meetings, right?
Yeah, it keeps me honest.
And a point of interest, I want the commission to encourage the city council members to make it a point to visit the various sister cities at a point in time whilst they are in the city, they are on the city council,
Mhm.
so that
That'd
they
be
can
good.
appreciate what we do.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Poggio.
Nothing new for now. I mean, we were able to do the thing with the movie. I have the DVD. I still haven't been able to figure out if there is a way to show it online without actually the DVD. They told me that they were going to let me know, so hopefully soon. There was still the idea to do something with the schools, but honestly, until I can come back to Charlottesville, I mean, I don't even know. Here, the schools don't look really collaborative, I would say, but not for not particular reasons. They are changing all the, how do you call it, the chief of the school, let's say. So there are new people, so they need to start again with all the programs. So we will see if it's possible to establish some contacts with them also before I leave. Anything else, everything else looks fine. I mean, the contacts are still the same, the people are still the same. The idea was to, I mean, Giacomo told me that he would like to organize again some kind of visits to Charlottesville, but they want to wait, of course, the pandemic to be over. So I think a lot of, they really like to do things in person or exchanges, you know, if it's possible. So I think for now, a lot of things are in standby until, I guess, until next year at this point. I mean, January or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Stella. All right, I think that is the end of our goals. So. My eyes are starting to burn. All right, next on our agenda is to discuss the establishment of the travel assistance standards. And I mean, I know Amanda's done a lot of work on it. I hate to short this particular discussion. Do you all want to go ahead and continue with it, or maybe make it the primary topic of our next meeting? I don't know. What do you think, Amanda? You've done the most on the topic.
Yeah, I think we can certainly keep it brief or push it to the next session. I think it would be great to get a little bit of just general feedback on the principles around travel scholarships. This is a work that the grants committee started 1.5 years or so ago. It's been important. We kind of put it on pause, as I mentioned earlier. I shared the link, very early draft principles and process, and the next step would be to really develop more formally an application process and also a cycle for receiving travel scholarship applications. We also have to think about the budget implications. Where does the funding for travel scholarships come from in the future, et cetera? So there are lots of things to consider here, and this document outlines some key principles and process and some questions that we had wanted to get commission feedback on originally. So I don't know if anyone had a chance to review it in advance, but would welcome feedback if there's any quick feedback now, or we can take this up in the next session. So happy
Would
to.
you like me to share it on the screen?
We could, if we
Okay.
wanted to go into it. I also
Yeah.
recognize we're short on time, so kind of defer to your judgment and suggestion there, Damon, because it's
I
a
mean,
lot to maybe go into.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if we want to jump in simply because, you know, there's a lot to review. But like you said, we've had this on our table now since before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And
I have a couple thoughts I can just throw out there just to
Sure.
keep it in the mix. I thought that the question about once or twice per year on a rolling basis or as part of an official Sister Cities Commission run trip, that got my attention. I did think we want to avoid having to, you know, have applications just come in at any time willy-nilly. Well, at least that's what I thought. I just thought that could get unwieldy. But if there was a set time, once a year or potentially twice, and then an allowance made for an officially planned trip, that the fact of an official planned trip would also include its own little sub schedule for requests. So I was just trying to think about how it would play out. And then another thought I have here is that we give the sentence that talked about individual opportunities. It said the purpose is to offset the cost of travel for individuals to participate in official organized sister city group trips. I totally get that. Or for individual opportunities for exchange with the sister city. So I thought right away, could we get an example? In fact, maybe you could share now, Amanda, or anyone. What's an individual opportunity? What, for example, what would we potentially fund?
Yeah, it's a good point. And, you know, I think sometimes these individual opportunities come up through grants projects. That's an example. And grantees might build in some funding for travel, which is a little different than a travel scholarship and is not need-based necessarily. But perhaps it could be, you know, an artist or you know, someone who is looking to develop, you know, a project or a relationship with one of the sister cities who might want to put forward a proposal to visit and receive some funding. So yeah, I mean, I think it's up for discussion as to whether we would want to prioritize and support individual types of trips versus only, you know, organized trips such as the ones described for the upcoming Winneba trip as an example. So yeah, I don't recall exactly where that came from. Again, we started working on this a year and a half ago. So Dave, I don't know if you have any recollection of that particular point, but I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Adrian. I'm you know, a little fuzzy about how that would take form. I mean, we have had individuals that have gone to Winneba, for instance, on their own, not through a group, but just on their own. So there is precedent for individuals taking their own trips, but yeah.
One idea might be one idea might be in the business sector. If there's someone, you know, from our community that wants to travel to one of our sister cities to meet with members of the business sector there with regard to establishing some kind of connections, you know, some kind of ongoing, you know, enterprise that would benefit both cities, you know, I don't know, a startup or something that would benefit both cities, then that might be the kind of individual travel opportunity that's not tied to a delegation visit. You know, that needs to happen at a particular time of year, or that needs to happen with a very specific focus.
When I hear that from you and Elizabeth and Dave and Amanda, suddenly it makes perfect sense. And I can picture a ton of people being interested if the opportunity existed. I mean, if the monies existed. So it occurs to me that if we included that, and I think it's a good inclusion, because there are many individuals who might, knowing they might have some assistance, they might think of some interesting connections they want to make. But in any case, we would have to decide, of the funding we have to offer, do we want to sequester some portion of it definitely for group trips and some for individuals, or, you know, those are another smaller decision that would come up. And I would think that if it was promoted well, that there is this assistance, I would hope that individuals would think, you know, how can I make some good connections there with one of our sister cities and do something.
You see, with me, I am thinking that the individual, the various representatives must not be just what we call boardroom representatives. They have to go to the field to promote Charlottesville in their various sister cities. And the commission must make sure that they actually give some funds to the representatives to go to their various sister cities at a point in time. If even it is a yearly or bi-yearly funding to go to Besançon representative goes to Besançon to, you know, to promote Charlottesville there, a working trip sponsored by the, this thing was floated some time ago when I was young and I was in the commissions some time ago. This was floated there, and it was actually accepted that I think, is it every year or every couple of years that they will pay for a trip for a representative to go to their what do you call it, their city as a working trip. You see, instead of making it as a grant system for larger groups, or, you know, because we seriously, we just cannot sit in Charlottesville and think that we are creating a relationship. We have to go out there. See, I for instance, and again, because I am retired, I have the luxury of staying for a longer period, because then there are so many things to be done there, waiting for shipment to come and all those things. But then, you know, people can be sponsored to go for 2 weeks on a working trip in Besançon, in Poggi or something, instead of just sitting and then making it, sitting in the office and making it look as if we are representing the city. Am I making sense?
Thanks. Thank you, Nana. I definitely hear you. And I wonder too, I don't know what the past precedent and current budget capacity is for the sister city rep travel. I think just wanted to, maybe I should have highlighted this at the beginning, the real impetus around this travel scholarship proposal that we're discussing is to really reduce barriers to participation for lower income residents in our community to participate in Sister Cities travel, and to really increase the diversity and inclusion of residents in our community to participate. So, and what we had talked about previously is really having some sort of process for determining need for those funds. And I think probably thinking about how the commission supports reps to travel might be a different kind of discussion and pot of funding that we'd be talking about. I don't know if that makes sense to you and other commissioners, but I think that really hadn't come up previously as part of the scholarship discussion.
You see, the practical aspect of what you are talking about is when we have like $100,000 in our account, because immediately you open that floodgate, we are in big trouble. The commission is in big trouble. That people who cannot afford must, unless you peg it that, oh, we are giving $1,000 to each sister city to support group travel. But then immediately you open that floodgates that, hey, people who cannot afford to travel to Besançon, there is a scholarship fund to help you travel. Whoa, we are in big trouble.
I mean, I think with this, and it is true that this conversation came up prior to COVID, when a little fuller. I think at this point, we still are just trying to come together on a policy. Should we have opportunities, the funds to provide scholarships, and the topic of sister city representatives traveling and funding them is definitely an important one. And I agree, the more people can personally engage in those cities, the better. But I think our primary purpose here really is to establish these policies, and it could be this travel scholarship, policy won't be used in the near future with our budget being the way it is and our reduction of funding.
But can I say something?
Yeah, please.
In response to Nana's question or concern, I think that's part of the reason why why Amanda in particular has put so much thought into creating a process for evaluating applications for scholarship funding, so that we're not just giving money to anybody that wants to go, but they really have to have sort of well thought out reasons for wanting to go. What value would they be able to add? There needs to be a demonstrated financial need. They'll need to share what they've learned when they come back. So I think a lot of good thought has been put into this, so that this will be a good investment of commission funds. So I'll just leave it at that.
I think too, Nana, I think your point about where is the funding for this sister city reps to go and do their work? That's what I'm hearing you say. And I don't think these two have anything to do with each other. I think this is something for our community residents to help those who otherwise might not be able to go. But your question is a valid question. And, I'm interested in terms of our funding in general for this commission, in getting clear on what we start requesting or what we start saying is part of our duty here. And I know we took this up before, and I can't remember what we found. It might have been Elizabeth that dug into the documents. And I don't think we found anything very formalized. But there was something about city reps that should be going every couple years.
Yes, that's written. There's documentation that suggests that the city representative should, is expected to travel to the sister city approximately every 2 years. And any sister city representative can apply to the commission for up to, I think, either $1,000 or $1,500 that the commission has to approve to offset the cost of that travel, because they're doing that as sister city commission business. They're doing that as a part of being sister city representative, meeting with officials, keeping those connections going. And then the same document, I was just looking to see if I could quickly find it, but I didn't, also says that sister city commissioner, sister city representatives should be organizing delegation visits every so many years. Maybe it says 10 years or 5 years, I can't remember. So, you know, there is an expectation that we are active representatives and that we're traveling back and forth as long as we're the city representatives, and that some money in our budget can be allocated to support those trips. It's not a given. We each have to request it. But I agree, that's a separate pot of money, right? From what I think Amanda has put together. And by the way, Amanda, I'm so impressed with the time and energy. And I think we've just not done this justice yet. So I hope we can set aside a nice chunk of a full meeting to be able to talk further about it. But I do understand that this is a separate initiative that does not interfere with or compete with at all the commissioner, one of the commissioners being able to continue to go back and forth to conduct sister city commission.
And
business.
maybe when we submit a budget or a funding request, I'm still unclear on how it all works, but when we do that with the city council, we can be more deliberate, perhaps, in saying, this is what we're requesting, and this is why, these are our anticipated expenses.
Right, this is what we're
And
going to
we-
spend it on.
Right, and we could mark off, you
Thank you,
know,
Michael.
if the reps haven't been to their sister cities in 2 years, it's worth saying that perhaps $2,000 times 4 people needs to be set aside with that earmark on it. And
Mhm.
and I mean, we can certainly make our case with city council if they, you know, if they give us the budget, the funding we want or need, we have to deal with that. But we can certainly be more clear and more deliberate about what our actual objectives are and what it's going to cost to meet them.
Yeah, and these things are in that spending guidelines document that I dug up from the files, and Michael has just very generously sent that to us in the chat. Those are spending guidelines that we haven't actually taken up and discussed and approved or reapproved or revised, but we have some. They were drafted by Leah Hicks, I think back in 2017 or 2018. You may recall, I tried to check with Terry. I tried to determine whether these were actually ever voted on and approved. I think Dave remembers that they were, but it's not recorded in any minutes. And Terry, the former chair of the commission, also remembers that they were voted upon and approved, but it's not recorded in the minutes. So I think we have to go forward assuming these were adopted and are extant guidelines for us until we take them up, revise them, or change them. But it's really helpful because it does address that issue.
Elizabeth, do you remember where in the which folder in the Google Drive this is?
I can tell
It's
you
under
in one second.
organizational documents.
Okay, great, thanks.
Is that what you found, Michael?
Let me see. I did a search for it. So
It should be in organizational documents. So yeah,
Well, everyone, for the sake of time and not shorting this conversation because I think it's one that we really do need to get into in more detail. Let's make this the primary focus of our October meeting.
The travel scholarships?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. And that way we can really, give it the attention that it needs. So thank you, Amanda, for putting this
Yeah, thanks
together.
everyone for the feedback and looking forward to further discussion.
For sure. Thank you.
So okay, now let me ask this very specific question. So as a representative of Winneba, can I now apply for funds to go as an as a working visit?
I think so. You're the representative, right?
Yeah.
Then yes.
Yes, subject to the limitations in that document.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
it has to be approved in advance for official business. I think it's limited to $1,500 maximum. It can't be more than a combined 3,000 per year for everybody, all the representatives together. And
So
you need to do a report at the end of it.
Michael, I didn't get you well. You said combine all the representatives shouldn't be 2,000.
3,000,
All the representatives shouldn't be 3,000.
right.
So really, you couldn't have more than 2 representatives travel abroad per year.
If they took the maximum amount.
And what is the maximum amount? 3,000
1,500
or
per
1,500?
representative.
Okay. And are you taking? Are you considering inflation?
That I'm reiterating what's in the document. The document says 1,500, so I don't think that our amount that we've gotten from the city has changed to accommodate inflation.
Oh, okay. You didn't consider inflation.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay. So they only pay for your fare. They only pay for your fare, and they say, bye bye. Go fend for yourself.
That's what's in the document right now. We can revise it.
So why don't we amend the document to about like 2,000 per representative for 2 years?
I mean, I think that's something that would be great to talk about. Damon, you suggested doing the other one at the October meeting. Maybe we try to do this one at the same time.
Yeah.
Since
we can
they're
look at both of
related.
them. Sure.
Yeah. So then make it Damon, try to make it an actual in October. Let us revisit that seriously as a whole subject.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that
and
sounds good. We can tackle both.
And we need to do all of this in the context of how much money we actually have available. I mean,
That's right. Considering we didn't get funded this
Right,
year,
right.
so.
right.
Well,
we
and
don't know if
I
we're
think
gonna.
yeah. And it currently says it's still up to the commission to approve,
Approve it.
approve
Which I suppose means the
requests.
commission could approve a partial amount if we didn't feel like we had enough money, to cover. I mean, if we're feeling tight, if we have other commitments that we have to meet, the commission could always approve a partial amount for any request, I suppose.
Let the city council understand that we are using the money and they will give us more.
Well, we would hope so.
Yeah. If they know we are not using it and it is piling up there, they won't give us any. That means we don't need it. But then if they know we need it for a purpose to sell Charlottesville to the world, a positive selling of Charlottesville, then hey, they will give us more. I bet you.
So
I hope
everyone, it
you're
is 7:40 now.
What?
It's 7:40. It's 7:40.
Hey, it's 7:40. Okay, we are way
Yes.
past our time.
But so
So
real quick,
I'm pretty sure we're not going to dedicate 30 minutes to the discussion of commission members. But I want to go ahead and quickly ask everybody if you are comfortable in continuing in your roles for the time being, or if there is anyone who wants to do something different, or does anyone have any comment on continuing your roles as they currently stand? Elizabeth?
I'm happy to continue serving as secretary if it's if it pleases the commission. Unless there's somebody who's dying to take the role over, I'm certainly happy to cede that, but otherwise I'm prepared to continue.
I want you
Wonderful.
to be
Thank
the
you so
perpetual
much.
secretary.
Say it again?
I want you to be the perpetual secretary.
Okay.
Yeah, forever and ever.
Perpetual secretary?
Yes.
Well, how about if I
We
start
can
with
add
another
that
year?
to our bylaws.
Damon, next
Secretary
time,
for life.
make
Let's
sure when
start
we are
with-
doing a virtual retreat, you do a dinner delivery.
Okay.
Others, is everyone fine with the work that they're doing, the committees they're on, and roles that they have? Oh, I'm
Yeah.
frozen.
yes,
Can anyone hear me?
we can hear you.
Okay, good. Everyone is frozen for me. So it sounds like people are comfortable with the offices that they're in. In regards to the chair position, I would love to, share some of that. I feel sometimes that I'm not able to do as much or provide as much attention as other chairs may have in the past. And, I can definitely be, conduct a meeting like I'm doing and that kind of thing. But I don't want to find that my lack of time is slowing down the commission. So that's my primary concern about, exclusively being chair as being a co-chair. So I just want to mention that to people. So if there were a co-chair, I think we would probably maybe be moving a little faster in some regards. But anyway, I put that out there. I don't want to be the one that's slowing things down, is my point.
May I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So what are your thoughts, if any, about how you would want to divide up the responsibilities? It strikes me that, you might have some ideas about that. If you were looking for a co-chair, now that you have been doing this for a bit, do you have a sense of kind of how the work could be divided so that each of you was a point person for some things and the other was a point person for something else? Or what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. Well, I think one area that would probably benefit for someone else to take over would be communication with city officials. The fact that I live in Gordonsville and not in Charlottesville is not ideal for, for more regular interaction with the city council and others. I think that would be to the benefit of the commission if someone were to take on that element. I think that's probably one of the biggest ones. And one that has occurred to me, especially, I think that would probably be a big help. And I'd have to think through other areas, but that is one which I think would definitely be a benefit for someone to take over. or to divide up. And I mean, and again, we don't have to decide this today if we don't want to. But I think as long as I am exclusively the chair, we will probably be moving a little slower than we otherwise might be able to. And I just don't want to be the person who slows things down for us. And I could examine more closely elements that I think could be divided, but that's just one that particularly comes to mind.
Well, you know, we're a small group, so.
I know, and that is the
We don't-
problem. I mean, we have so few members right now. We're almost half of what we ought to be.
Mhm.
Um,
But it would be a big burden, I think, to place on a brand new member to be a
Mhm.
co-chair right away. And
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, I'm fine with continuing. Did I see your hand up, Dave?
Well, I was just gonna say, the bylaws envision having a vice chair.
right.
And historically, we sort of treated that as, at least informally, as sort of the heir apparent to the chair. So they get a year of experience as a vice chair, and then oftentimes they'll step up as the chair, the following term. So that's another option, is to revisit that structure. And then you could say you'd really like that person for this year to focus on communication with city officials, or whatever it is that would help you, Damon.
Right, yeah.
Do you like that model, Damon? Is that a model that?
I'm fine with that. I mean, I did look at that vice chairman role, and one of them was creating a budget, which I thought I was kind of surprised to see that. I mean, I don't know if I mean, I think Michael has probably been the one who's led the way a little bit on all things finance.
I documented it. We did the meeting with the chair and the vice chair when Kate was here. I guess they were co-chairs to kind of put some numbers in there, but I think that's how I would describe how the budget came about.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I thought that process worked really well. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. I'm certainly open to a vice chairman. I mean, I think we are, as I think Elizabeth mentioned, in a position where we are all covering a lot of different areas, and we're probably mostly maxed out on efforts that we can give, considering the fact that most of us are working and some have kids and other activities that they're doing. Hopefully we will find some very motivated people out there. And I think back to our conversation from earlier, I think we need to do some headhunting. I think we need to really look at our colleagues, look at the members in our community who we believe are particularly motivated for this kind of thing, and really reach out to them on a very direct and personal level and encourage them to apply to be a part of our group. Because clearly what we've been doing hasn't worked. I mean, we have no new people from a pretty extended period of recruitment using our normal processes. So I think if we want a broader, a larger commission, we need to be the ones that go out and find people as best we can. So that's my 2 cents.
Hey, I'm gonna have to sign off.
Well, I think we can probably all sign off. I think we have exhausted our agenda. I don't think
We
there's,
covered everything.
I think we managed to cover just about everything in the kitchen sink. And we talked, actually, our final bullet was discuss how to attract new members. So we kind of touched on that right there. Does anyone have anything else? Yeah, anything else they'd like to add before we adjourn?
I just want to thank you, Damon. I really appreciate your willingness to steer the ship and thanks to those of you who worked together to put this retreat together. I thought it was really was so helpful to know exactly what documents you wanted us to read and a pointer to those. I learned some things I should have known already. I was reminded of some important things. I really appreciate that effort. And I think you're doing a great job, Damon. So I appreciate your willingness to stick it out.
Well, thank you. And yeah, special thanks to Adrian, who did go the extra mile and helped really kind of put a lot of meat to the bones of this meeting. So thank you, Adrian.
I
Hope
was,
you get some sleep tonight, Stella.
yeah, thank you,
you're-
Damon.
Yes,
And,
thank you, Damon, for your leadership, and Adrian for
Yeah.
your preparation, and Stella for sticking with us so late.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah.
All right,
right,
everybody. Well, then until October, I'll be working on setting up a day for a subcommittee meeting, probably to work on goals in October. And also our October focus will be on travel scholarships and city rep travel.
And our October meeting date is the
This is-
19th.
The regular one, right? Our regular meeting,
Yeah.
not the subcommittee
It'll be
meeting.
the 19th of October. And I'll be putting together some minutes from the retreat. They may not be as detailed as I try to do for the monthly meetings, but I'll try to get to that very quickly to summarize what we went over tonight and get those out to you to take a look at sometime by next week.
That sounds great. Well, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you and all you're doing for the commission. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Too.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night, everybody.
Bye. Take care.
Thanks to our city folks as well.
Yes, thanks,
Yeah,
Max
thanks,
and
Max.
Lasheen.
Bye.
Good night.
Jane.
Bye.